Hello, and welcome to Soul Aligned CEO Podcast, the show that shares the journeys of entrepreneurs from all around the world who have started businesses and they are doing that soul aligned, and also sharing insight and perspective from my own personal spiritual journey. So, welcome. Today's episode is a solo episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, you will notice that it's a little bit darker than normal. I'm coming at you at nighttime where I live, and that's okay. It's actually somewhat fitting for the topic that I would like to discuss today. And it's something that's been on my mind over the last few weeks, especially with everything going on astrologically with the eclipses and being retrograde, and just so much is going on in the stars. And something that I've been thinking about, kind of from a human perspective, is how we deal with pain and disappointment. And that pain and disappointment can come from a variety of different things, whether it's relationships not working out how you had hoped, whether it's being hurt by something that somebody did or said, whether it's a business opportunity or career opportunity that isn't going how you want it to. We face a multitude of things on a daily, weekly basis that could potentially be hurtful or painful or disappointing. And so I want to share today a little bit about how I work through that pain and some things that have really helped me on my journey. So thank you for being here. First, I want to talk about, why we feel pain in the first place. And, it's hard to exactly pinpoint why on this human journey, we have the opportunity to experience emotions. And with emotions, there's always that duality. But one thing that I've been thinking a lot lately about when something is either, hurtful or painful or disappointing to me, it's when did it actually occur? Because I think a lot of times we can perpetuate a feeling or a thought or an experience of pain and disappointment that is actually not occurring now. And so think about this example. So let's say that you have a disagreement with either a significant other or an important person in your life. And this disagreement maybe occurred 3 weeks ago or even 3 months ago. And you're now in this current moment, here listening to the podcast and thinking about this painful moment, it brings up that experience again. But when all of that actually took place is not right now. So there's nothing in this current moment that is happening that is causing pain. So think about that for a second, because, I get that if we're in the situation where the disagreement is occurring at this exact moment and it's feeling painful and disappointing and frustrating. But as a human, we have a tendency to bring things that are not currently happening and bring them forward to this current moment and relive the experience. So, one of the first things that I do whenever I am feeling some sort of pain or disappointment or frustration, or really any feeling that isn't ideal, is I think about what and when did it occur originally? Because if I am feeling this pain based on something that occurred 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago, is it still really relevant now? And I'm in no way saying like bypass the time it takes to heal and feel and process emotions. What I am suggesting is think about the current moment, and is that experience existing now? And can you recognize that? Because a lot of times pain and disappointment occurs when we expect something to happen and it doesn't, right? So if you expect a relationship to continue and then it ends, you expect a friendship to have a certain type of interaction and then it changes. You expect a job or a business to go a certain way, and then there's a wrench in the road. So, a lot of times, the pain that we're experiencing is directly impacted by what we expected. And so, it's very powerful if you can step back and think about those expectations and realize that that's where the pain is coming from. Now, they're all very valid expectations. All I'm highlighting here is how can you get out of the experience of feeling the pain in a moment where the situation isn't occurring, and the hurt and disappointment is most likely coming from something that you expected to occur and then it did differently. So that's where I start. And then with that, shifting and being aware of your thoughts. So if we go back to this example of the disagreement that happened 3 weeks ago, and it was maybe painful at the time, and things that were said were hurtful. Well, now if I'm replaying that conversation 3 weeks later in my mind, of course, my body is going to remember that feeling in that moment. And so I'm allowing my mind to kind of regurgitate the experience. And then your body is really smart, it remembers it. And so it then kind of works together with your mind to like kind of put you in that space again. And so, how do you help yourself get out of that? So, I use a technique that I've learned over the years, and different spiritual and life coach and philosophical teachers, all have some variation to this. Dr. Wayne Dyer spoke often about if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Now, what that means to me is being aware of what's actually occurring in the present moment. And so, if I look at this situation that's causing me pain, can I step back and one, realize that it's not occurring right now? And two, it's occurring because I had an expectation that didn't go as planned. And so if I change the way that I look at that situation and acknowledge those things, now that situation changes and it becomes something that occurred, that I experienced. I had those feelings, I had the pain, but I don't need to carry it in this now moment. So I look at this process as being kind of the observer of my own mind and paying attention to what the thoughts in my mind are telling myself. And so if I wake up in the morning and I'm starting my day and like a breeze of sadness or disappointment comes over me, I can stop for a moment and just assess, is something going on right now that's causing this? Or am I reliving something that occurred previously? And it's a little bit tricky at first. And I didn't realize how often anytime I was in a state that wasn't, of joy and peace and relaxation, if I was bringing in any of that disappointment or frustration, that I was actually replaying old events in my head and then somehow convincing myself that, that was still the space or the energy that I'm in. And so staying present and very carefully being the observer and guarding your mind and your thoughts and just being aware of, your connection to that and the repetition might actually be occurring in a way to kind of keep you in a loop. So once you're able to kind of step back and assess your thoughts and the emotions that are coming with them, and it's not something new and it's not something that you need to kind of work through again, then you can decide what you're feeding. And so if I'm observing myself having thoughts about something that was painful or hurtful, I choose in that moment, okay, am I going to keep feeding that story? Because no matter what story you feed, I'll tell you, it's going to win. And so you have a choice, and there's nothing good, bad, right, wrong if you want to be in a space that is unhappy and frustrated and sad and painful. But being aware that you're choosing that gives you kind of the power to decide when it's going to end. And then you can choose to feed something different and to consciously tell yourself that's okay. I think about it like, I'll date myself here, but like putting the CD in your CD player and it had like a playlist, right, of 10 or 12 songs. Well, kind of similar to your Spotify or on your iPhone, iTunes now. You have that playlist that maybe when you open your phone, that's the playlist that your phone first goes to. But you can choose to switch to a different playlist, right? So it's the same concept with your thoughts. You have the choice to switch to a different playlist. You don't have to keep in that space of, okay, I'm disappointed, I'm frustrated, I'm feeling the pain. Like you can acknowledge that that playlist is occurring, and then you can decide, do I want to continue in this space for the next day or 3 days or week or whatever it is? But being aware that the playlist is occurring is life changing because it gives you control over what's occurring right now. And another one of my favorite teachers, Eckhart Tolle, talks a lot about how powerful this now moment is. In fact, his book, The Power of Now, is one of my favorites. And it's so critical to be aware of what is actually occurring now and the experience that you're experiencing and the feelings that you're feeling. Is it actually right now? And that in and of itself will give you the ability to choose and decide, like, do I want to keep feeling this pain and disappointment and frustration? And so, it's not something that's easy. And I myself still get into days where I wake up and, something reminds me of something that didn't work out. And it's easy to get down on yourself, right? And then the first thing that I do is I think about, is this occurring now? And can I tell myself, okay, I'm having these feelings about something that occurred at a different time? And being that watcher or observer of your mind will give you then the choice to feed what you want. And it's such a powerful experience, and it takes practice. And it's not something to like beat yourself up if you don't quite work through it every single time. But I'll tell you this, it has definitely changed my life and has helped me through some of the most painful things that I have experienced, just to be able to acknowledge, like, is this occurring now? Can I be aware and observant of my thoughts? And then can I choose what I'm going to feed and feed it differently? So those three things. So I hope that, as you kind of go through your day to day or week to week and you are experiencing something that's hurtful or painful, think back to this and think about, am I perpetuating this feeling and this experience from something that's not occurring now? I'd love to know what you think. If this has been helpful to you, supporting the podcast. I really, really appreciate it. So if you get the opportunity to subscribe on YouTube and follow Soul Line CEO on Instagram, it really helps the exposure of the podcast and really helps me get these messages out there. So we'll be doing more guest episodes soon in May. I'm really excited about that. But I hope that you have enjoyed the last few episodes that are just me sharing some things that are very important to me. And I hope that you have found this episode insightful and informative. And until next time, I wish you much peace, love, and joy as you pursue being soul aligned.